bought the house, said, I'm gonna redo the stairs, little project, shouldn't be much. Besides that, the house is perfect. We can redo all the other cosmetic things, I know how to do that. I just need a new staircase. I used my best sales tactic and convinced my husband that if I could find someone who could walk us through the process, then certainly we could do it ourselves. We weren't rebuilding the structure, you know, just ripping off the tops of the stairs, the railings. How hard could it be? Well, it would have been hard, but we found Stair Warehouse. These guys are out of Texas. Their reviews were phenomenal for their customer service, and they didn't disappoint. I called them, I told them what I wanted to do, and they were all for it. And they said, and if you get stuck, you can call us. We will talk you through it. We believe, you know, you can definitely pull this off. What this video is going to show you is how me and my husband, complete novices, beginners, no idea what we were doing, how we were able to build a beautiful, sturdy staircase of my dreams. Demo day was exciting, but also so scary. When I tell you that we had no idea what we were doing, we had no idea. We'd never done anything like it. Closest thing my husband had done was wood shop 15 years ago in high school. But we went to the garage, found a tool, and pretty much just laughed our way through it. Can I pull the trigger all the way down?
Yeah. Are you forcing it?
No, I'm not doing anything. The thing's just cracking.
When you're ready to measure, call Stair Warehouse. Those guys will walk you through where you're going to stop and end your measuring tape, as well as things to consider with local safety codes for spreading apart your iron bars. Doesn't paint make such a big difference? We painted the walls, the posts we were keeping, as well as the trim. We've got Poplar Gray and Alabaster White from Sherwin-Williams.
Okay, in order to get the bars to be lined up, we made a template. We're gonna make a different template for when the bars are gonna be perfectly horizontal and then when they're gonna be at an angle. Cut in the spots to where we were measuring to do the holes. And then the next thing we did is we put that on our newel posts. So this is a half newel post that we're going to be attaching to the wall. And so that it was going in, so the bars weren't just going into the drywall. So when we laid it down here on a flat table, we put our template right over top. Okay, so this is the drill press that we got for this project. It was about 110 bucks. It has helped immensely, specifically if you're installing newel posts that aren't already installed. So this is the half newel post. So we already have all of the little dots from the Fastener bit that I showed you before with the template. So we've got them kind of pieced all the way along. We used our clamps here to hold it in place. And then you can see I've got the same Fastener bit lined up and ready to go to make my 1.5 inch incision. So the 1.5 inch incision is what we're doing. That's the depth we decided on, how far we wanted to put the stainless steel rod into the half newel. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the machine on, then crank it down a half. We found a problem with the Fastener bits. We tried to go all the way through the first time, and it would get too gunked up with all of the sawdust. So I'm going to go down a half and then pull it back up, then go down another half and then pull it back up. Alright, here we go.
To keep things as simple as possible, we left the existing posts in our staircase system and just painted them to match. This means that we had to cut the holes into them while they were vertical. So we got a drill guide off of Amazon, and you can see here we tried to keep the dust to a minimum in our house, so he's stopping with a vacuum, and then we're using clamps to hold it at the right angle, and then attaching his drill right on there. So we still used a template to mark where he was drilling into, but then we used the drill guide to get the exact same cut every time. With this railing system, you have to put a post every 5 feet on the balconies. So we had to install 2 new posts. We ordered them from Stair Warehouse, and then we found a hardware kit on Amazon that we loved. All of the pieces were in there. So he's using a drill and then a router tool that we got from Home Depot to make the cuts into the existing trim. Then you use the other part of the same kit to install into the bottom of our 3-inch Newel posts. So we've already got these Newel posts painted, and we're adding the hardware into the bottom. From there, lock it in.
Okay, so now we're cutting the poles. For this section, we want 45 inch increments. So 2 of those are going to come out of each of the 8-foot poles from Stair Warehouse. So I just got it lined up here. I had like a white permanent marker. Marking it here at the 45. That gives us a good shot when we're getting ready to cut. And then 45 again right here for the second cut. Okay, now I'll take it over to the cutting station.
We heard that you could use a hacksaw or anything to cut this iron, but we ended up using a 6-inch cutoff saw from Harbor Freight. It was like 40 bucks. Trust me, it's totally worth it, and I felt so much safer.
Alright, here's the workshop update for Saturday. So we cut all of these poles. So we're finishing up the loft section this afternoon for the dry fit. So we had to cut down these 8-foot poles down to about 4-foot segments.
There was some rough edges on the end of our iron poles after we got done with the cutoff saw, so we used a round sander to take care of the initial bits, and then Josh also had kind of a sanding accessory top on his drill that he used to get the remainder of the fragments inside the iron pole.
Okay, so we're at the part in our project where we are ready to do the dry fit. So we have prepped all the pieces, we've cut everything where we think it's gonna work, and then we're gonna actually assemble it and put it together before we use epoxy, so we're not overcommitted with sticky glue and frustrated. So we're gonna do everything except install the handrail during the dry fit, because we're gonna do the handrail after we do the epoxy. So this section of the staircase that I'm gonna show you is actually our loft overlooking our living room. So it had the same stair system. We felt like this was a simple, clean example, way to show you how we set it up. So I'm gonna walk you through all the pieces and parts that we use to get set up for the dry fit. So you're gonna see some repetitive information here that you saw in the previous videos on how we put it together. So first things first, looking at this opening here, we had a handrail that went across with the vertical balusters, so we removed all of those. And then keeping in mind with the horizontal iron system, we had to make adjustments because we couldn't have more than a 5-foot run. So what we had to do was we ordered half Newel posts from Stair Warehouse. Our existing posts in our stair system were oak, but since we knew that we were painting these, we went ahead and got pine because it was cheaper. And we had to order a whole post, obviously, for the middle, and we went with the same size that matches our existing system, and then we had them cut 1 1/2 for the half Newels on the side here. So we painted them, primed them, painted them to match our trim, and then we actually used just some regular wood to make a template. So we talked about that in another video. The reason we did this was because that way we had to be precise once with our measurement, and we could reuse it as we went through all of the different pieces. So this is the template that we made with our Fastener bit, and you can see it lined up perfectly with our posts. We put this on the drill press. It was important that if you're gonna not use a drill press but handheld, make sure that you get your holes like perfectly perpendicular. Otherwise it's gonna shoot your iron out different angles. We made that mistake. And so you lined it up here, and then we also made the height at exactly where the handrail's gonna go. And then you can see we made another template. We cut a small sliver off of our handrail, and that way we could place it right on top of this template, trace it with a pencil so we could get all the pieces and know exactly where the handrail is going to be installed as we prepare for the dry fit. So that's the value of the templates. The first piece we're going to do is install the full Newel post in the middle. So we actually went with this key lock system, so I'll link it down below the video, but they've got great instructions to kind of tell you how they did it. It seemed like the sturdiest way we could kind of put it all together that we felt comfortable to install the new post, and you can see here the way that we installed their system and put it flush into the piece of our wood here. We used a router to kind of chew it all out and secured it down. It is really awesome and really tight the way it all comes together. So you'll see that. I'll go ahead and assemble that in a couple minutes and slide that in. Over here on the sides, so this is our half Newel post. We have this all lined up. We actually then used a drill with these 3.5-inch construction screws, and that's what we drilled actually into these to drill and hold this into the walls here to make these firm. So that's the screws that we used. We've got all of our iron bars here, so the holes you're going to do on one side, you're going to drill it deep enough to pull the poles into them and then be able to pull it out once you're connecting to the center.
Dry run day is such an adrenaline boost. All of a sudden you're putting together all the pieces that you've been cutting and planning, and it's all lining up beautifully with that center Newel post, and you just kind of sit back and you say, wow babe, we're actually pulling this off. Epoxy day is like game day to me. You want to be so organized and have everything ready before you get that glue out. When you're starting this step, you want to make sure the kids are in bed and there's no interruptions because the glue dries so fast. So what you can see he's doing here is putting the glue up at the top, and then we're actually putting it down at the bottom and sliding it into place. And I'm wiping it with alcohol pads to get the drippage that comes out after you put the pole in. Here you put the iron bars into one Newel post first, and then over onto the other side next. The final install is the handrail and Newel caps. There's so many fancy gadgets out there promising to no-show the screws and the nuts and all these different complicated solutions, but in the end we went with the old-fashioned construction screws, and they did a fantastic job. You can see every time Josh put a new screw in, he had to re-level it, because when you're doing a horizontal system like this, it's so important that you get each one of those layers to be perfectly straight.
This project blew me away. Not only did it fit into my budget, it was challenging but so rewarding. The staircase is sturdy, it's beautiful, and it is a showstopper. Everyone loves it the minute they come into our home, and like I had said, it really is the heart of who we are, the design, and what we wanted to be. So I am so thankful we did it, we tackled it, and above everything else,